Hey, what's up, guys? We're back again. Um, it's been a while, and I've been saying that I want to be a little bit more consistent with what I do with my time and with posting and things like that. But life has a way of showing you that you can have plans, but if life decides to do what it does, then you really don't have any control. So let me just give you guys a brief overview of what's been going on in my life since the last time I posted. So you guys would obviously know about that one situation. I'm not going to rehash it. Um, After that, it's been okay. I think I've been managing things as best as I can. I won't say that I've been perfect. There have been moments where some things have happened, some things have been said, and they sort of like knocked the wind out of my sails a little bit. I fell into a bit of a slump, depression wise. Like I knew that I was getting to that point, and I knew it was serious because someone close to me asked me if I was depressed. I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" And they said, "No, I'm noticing the changes in your behavior. You're not going out, you're not talking as much, you're stuck in your room, things like that." I was brooding. That's what I said. I was like, "No, I'm just brooding." And I don't believe that. But after that, man, I took some time for myself. Um, I don't like talking about my religious beliefs, but I took a deep dive back into it. Um, I'm rereading the Bible. I'm trying my best to make sense of things. I guess when life brings you down to your knees, since you're already on your knees, might as well pray. So that's what I've been doing, and it's been helpful. It's not like I prayed and I made a wish and the wish came true or something, but the fact that I've been consistent in doing that and keeping my faith has allowed me to move forward with my life. Work has been great. For those that don't know, I work at a public hospital. I work as a volunteer lay counselor. So, just offering emotional support for patients and things like that. And it's a very rewarding experience. I've been trying my best to put more effort in, and it's been great. There have been stories and things like that that the patients tell me about, and I can honestly say that they've changed my life. Truly. I got back in the gym because I hadn't been to the gym in like a month and a half. That's the longest I've been outside the gym since COVID. So getting back in was tough. I don't think you guys know, but like, you ever notice that you're weak? Like the weight that your manageable weight all of a sudden feels like you're hitting a new PR all over again. So just getting it up for one rep feels like an accomplishment. And I was very frustrated with that because it sort of made me feel like, have I gotten this weak? Has this situation really like pummeled me so hard that I fell down to this point? But I appreciate the fact that it happened because it just allowed me to shift my focus more onto myself, pushing myself more, working a little bit harder. And it's been a net positive. My friends have been supportive. One in particular, she's been a real help, you know? And she goes out of her way to like check in on me and make sure that I'm good. And I'm like, yo, you really don't need to do this. Cause as a man, it's like, you don't want to be vulnerable, but at the same time, you don't want to be a stone wall that's emotionless. But she's been really helpful. So thank you for that. I don't need to say your name because you know who you are. I've been working, doing some side jobs on top of the one that I'm doing at the hospital, challenging myself to learn something new. It's great to be a beginner at something because every mistake you make is just a building block that you stack on top of the previous one till you get to a point where you're confident in what it is that you're doing. So that's been good. And I've been wanting to really come up with something for an episode that's got some real tangible value, because I called the show now, and now it's called The Higher Man Project, having to shift the mentality of myself and then shift the intention of the show itself is not as easy as one may think, right? But I'm appreciative of the challenge that I've proposed to myself. And I just want to do my best and ensure that I give my best effort. So with this change in mentality, I've decided that I want to add some more steps. In the last episode, I added the 5 pillars, right? If you remember those, it's a challenge. I'm not gonna say what they are. I'm going to ask you to fill out in the comments what they are and what they mean. There's a whole episode on it. It's right underneath this one, and it's not even that long. The episode is like 40 something minutes, if I'm not mistaken. So after that, I decided, you know what, let me add another few steps. And the intention behind this episode is elevating the masculine. And the reason why I called it that is because I've come to note, like through my observations of people, my friends, my brothers, how the position of a man in society is changing. It's an ever evolving thing. And these days, it's becoming a lot more, how do I say, divided in a way, because you have the traditional masculine men on the one side, and then you have the modern metrosexual type men on the other side. And it's like, how does one determine which side is best for them? For me, I try to blend both, because saying toxic masculinity is a thing would mean that you're attacking the essence of what it means to be a man, which is where the point of contention has always been, right? If you've ever been on Twitter, on Instagram, anywhere really, and you look up toxic masculinity by definition or by whomever's definition, when you read it, it sounds like a controversial statement. But when you look at what it's assessing, it's taken some core aspects of masculinity and then flipped it on its head and made it seem as though it's a negative. So I decided, you know, I need to find a way to be the best man that I can be for myself, for my friends, and those that I love, in a way that has a net positive effect on them without it being too oppressive, right? So there are 10 points that I've jotted down. These are just my ideas. Obviously, the opinions that I express are my own. And you don't have to agree with each and every single one of them. In actual fact, you can say that all of them are wrong and present your own 10 in the comments. I'm trying to make this as interactive as I can. So without further ado, let's get started. It's been quite a long intro. If you're still here, thank you very much, because I know that I tend to babble at times. So let's start with the first point of elevating the masculine. So the first point that I wanted to make was knowing what kind of man you are, or the man that you want to be. So if you feel like you've been stuck and you've been trying to navigate a very tricky situation without anyone to really guide you or help you make sense of the world through your eyes, you need to investigate it for yourself. What does it mean to be a man, firstly? And then once you've defined what it means to be a man for yourself, you need to ask if that definition is a best fit for you in your current situation. Whatever's going on in your life, do you feel like this change or this shift or this transition is beneficial? It might seem like it's easy, but it's not, because that first point for the last month and a half has been something that's been sitting on my mind. Because I hit rock bottom, the only direction left is to go up. And determining how to go up is the challenge. That segues obviously into the next point, which is look at your life. Look at the things that are going on. Ask yourself, is the way that I'm currently acting bringing about the best results? And don't just look at yourself. I understand that with the trend of focusing on me and discovering myself, you have to be very selfish, right? To establish what's best for you. But we don't live in this world in isolation. We share space, we share air, we share food, we share laughs, we share tears with other people. So we have to look at all those aspects of our lives and truly determine whether or not the path that we're going down is one that's worth it. If it is, which it rarely is, but if it is, then keep going. If it isn't, which most of the time it isn't, then you need to make the change. And that starts by looking at point number 1, which is knowing what kind of man you are or want to be, and then looking at your life and determining the best course of action and the best way forward. Point number 3 is challenge yourself. Now, here, I don't want you to look broadly. Many people want to change a lot of things about themselves all at the same time. And what ends up happening is people bite on a little bit more than they can chew. And when they do that, it becomes odd in a way. Like you'll see someone who's in the gym trying to change their fitness regimen. They buy like 10 books and they try to read them all at the same time. They're changing the way that they eat. Some people end up changing friends and ending friendships. And then on top of that, they want to try and start this new journey, right? They start journaling, posting a lot on their stories on Instagram to make it seem as though they're really renovating their life. But the problem with that is when there are too many things in too many different areas that you're juggling all at the same time, one part is going to start lacking a little bit more, which then ends up having a ripple effect on all of them. So you need to have tunnel vision. And with the challenges that you present to yourself, look at the things that you have the most control over. So, for example, your fitness, right? If you want to challenge yourself, maybe start adding an extra 10 kgs of weight every 2 to 3 weeks on your compound lifts and things like that. If you want to change your friendships, if you want to challenge your friendships, you could do it by being a lot more intentional with the things that you say to them and that they say to you. Start asking more pertinent questions. Have them investigate themselves in the process. And then the both of you guys can determine whether or not a relationship, be it platonic or otherwise, determine whether or not it's the best fit for right now. If you look at your family situation, your relationship with your siblings, if you have them, your relationship with your parent or parents, look at where it's going right, look at where it's going wrong, and then challenge yourself to fix it. Maybe you could start a new family ritual or tradition, like every Friday night is like a games night or something. You get board games and you guys just sit and enjoy each other's company. The challenge doesn't have to be something that's extremely difficult. You don't always have to make it seem like it's some very difficult, tough, aggressive thing. I know when we hear the word challenge, as men, we're like, yeah, this is the thing that's going to push me to become better. But having something like a family night, as I just described, can do exactly that without it having the negative connotations of difficulty, of dis-ease. I hope you guys are following what I'm saying. And I hope that it's been of value so far. We've got 7 more to go. Some of them will be a little bit deeper. But if you are still here, thank you very much. And let's keep going. Sorry for my phone. I have to keep it on because, as I said to you guys, there are things that I'm doing and those challenges. Ooh, just got a notification. Yeah, it's nice. No, the the things that I'm doing require a lot of my attention. But I did say to myself that I want to come and, do what I do. I'm not the best at it. I'm very novice level. I don't even have a guest. This is something I'm doing writing completely solo. But the fact that you guys are supporting me gives me the lift that I need to keep pushing myself. So thank you, and let's continue. So point number 4 is managing your expectations. Now, here, you've set your challenges. You want to make significant changes in your life in the aspects that you can't control. The best way to ensure that you get the best results is by setting expectations that aren't obscenely high. Or you could set them up so high that even when you fail, you're still successful. There's this bar that Kanye West says, not this new Kanye, the old Kanye, because the new Kanye, that's not my Kanye. On his track, Homecoming, where he says, reach for the stars, so if you fall, you land on a cloud, right? When you set your expectations at a stratospheric level, even when you fall, you're still at the top of the atmosphere. That's if you really want to set like a grandiose kind of goal. But we're not there yet. We're trying to build foundation. So by managing your expectations, you can maybe like, this friend of mine, we decided to be more intentional with how we speak to each other, with making plans and talking about the serious aspects of our lives. Don't expect that person to always be available. Just because we call someone and they don't answer, or just because we message someone and they don't reply, doesn't mean that they're ignoring us. Because in the same way that we're changing our lives, they could possibly be changing theirs. So we need to extend grace to one another. I mean, I'm sure, gents, you guys have a couple of friends that you don't have to speak to for 3 months at all, like zero contact, like nothing. But on that one random day, you be like, bruh, are you still alive? I'm like, yeah, nah, bruh, I'm here. What's going on? Nah, nothing. I just wanted to check in and see what's good. I'm like, nah, I'm good, bro. What's going on? And then you guys have a conversation, and then you guys could set a plan to link up, and then 2 days later, you guys are chilling together, right? So extending each other grace by managing your expectations. Like even with that family night example that I had, sometimes our parents and our siblings might be coming back from work on that Friday and they're beaten, they're tired, and all they want to do is just sit on their bed and relax or just watch TV. Instead of trying to force the family tradition, you could probably just be like, yo, there's a new show out on Showmax or on Netflix, wherever it is. Let's watch an episode, or let's try watch one episode, and then you guys can watch, and you guys can talk about the day in between takes, in between scenes. I mean, me and my brother, we do that often. We put on a show, and throughout the show, we're talking. There's no show that we can watch where it's completely silent. It's a bit weird for us, but like, things like that. So managing your expectations, I believe, gives you a lot more control. Because if we're talking about controlling the things in our innermost environment, we need to be very attentive to what it is that we're giving attention to. You understand what I'm saying? Thanks. And then number 5, don't mind what comes with the change. By this, I mean, don't be disappointed if certain people in your life start falling and fading away. Oftentimes when we make big changes in our lives, we lose friends. Like when you go from matric to first year varsity, like half the friends that you had are gone because they're studying in another part of the country or outside the country. Maybe because you've realized that you guys were only friends because you were seeing each other every day. That happens too. Maybe because you realize through being in university and meeting people that align more with what you believe because of what you're studying, that the friend or friends that you had weren't thinking like you were thinking, weren't moving with the intentions that match yours. So you eventually just fade. It's not even like there's beef. It's not like you said, I don't want to be friends anymore. They said, I don't want to be your friend. You guys just gradually distance yourselves from each other and you grow apart. And that's not a bad thing. I won't say I like it, because I'd like to think that everyone I come across that I say is my friend will be my friend till the day that I'm dead and buried. But there are contacts on my phone that I haven't spoken to in years. And there's no bad blood, maybe apart from like one or two people. But I don't go out of my way to be like, yeah, nah, I'm not friends with that guy. I'm not friends with that girl. They don't match my vibe. They're not. There's no need to make yourself seem like you're the best person in the world. Because in the same way that you think that your vibe doesn't match their vibe, they could be thinking, yeah, that dude, that guy's a loser. I don't want to be friends with him. That's why we just naturally drifted apart. So don't mind things that come with elevation. And it's not always bad too. There are some things that are good as well. So like if you're not used to having people in your life that are constantly checking in on you, and you start making changes, and the people that are in your life are a lot more invested, maybe they've come to realize what your value actually is in their life, you shouldn't mind the fact that there's an increase in interaction. You shouldn't be like, hey, what's your agenda? Why do you all of a sudden have an interest in my life? Sometimes people come to realize what they value after they've seen the changes that they maybe hoped to see in you. You get what I mean? It doesn't always mean that someone that's changed for the better has an agenda. Some people just genuinely start to value other people more as life progresses and you get more intentional with how you're living, with who you're talking to, with where you socialize, what you eat, how you dress, and a whole bunch of other things. So don't be too suspicious, because that's a hint of a lack of control. If you're in control of your situation, whoever comes in and whoever goes out, it's part of the plan, the overall plan. You see, I told y'all some things can get deep. Yeah. I'm glad that you're finding it valuable. I'm going to keep reminding you, and I'm going to keep saying it, so that you guys, stay locked in, because that's the point of this whole thing. Elevating the masculine is just another way of saying lock the fuck in, because that's what we're here to do. Fair, right? Yeah? Yeah, I thought so. Number 6, find and or challenge your tribe. So earlier on in point number 3, I was talking about how you have to challenge yourself. Now at point number 6, it's more about putting the pressure on other people. Because it's one thing to elevate by yourself, but if you know the potential of maybe your best friend, of your brother, of your sister, your aunt, your cousin, or even a stranger that you see on multiple occasions, you push them. You want what's best for everybody. There's no point in elevating if you're doing it by yourself. There's no benefit of being someone that's truly winning at life if everybody else is losing. That, more than anything, makes you someone to envy. And jealousy can bring out the absolute worst in people. Now, I'm not saying that just because we're leveling up and, they're bound to hate on us. No, some people can be patient and be like, it's their turn to win. Maybe this is my time to sit back and clap my hands for them and truly support them, so that when my time comes to level up, they're in the crowd too saying, that's my guy. I knew he was able to do it. But finding and or challenging your tribe can be difficult, because expectations might not align. You might be someone that likes to aggressively pursue the things that make them better, or the things that they value. And they might like to take their time and determine the best course of action. So just because you like to, ram yourself into something like a battering ram, doesn't mean that because they don't do it, that they're not doing it. You feel me? The best example that I can give you guys is a personal one. Myself and my brother, for example. It's weird because we are the same and we are different at the same time. So I'm a fraternal twin, for those that didn't know. And I mean, we're fraternal brothers though. So same gender, just not the same looks. He's taller than me. Um, he's a little bit more athletic. Well, he'd like to say that he's a little bit more athletic. When we were younger in school and stuff, he was the one that was doing the sports. I was the one in the books. But now I'm the one in the gym. I mean, he's in the gym too, but I was in there longer, so I let him know. But with regards to the point about finding or challenging your tribe, sometimes there's something we want to do, or something he wants to do, or that I want to do, and I might want to be the one that's a battering ram and just aggressively pursue the thing. Make sure that I give it my best effort, go hard in the paint. Then he might be like, "Hey, chief, slow it down, reassess, align yourself." And on another occasion, he might have something he wants to do or wants to pursue, and he wants to be the battering ram. And then I have to be like, "Hey, chief, mind yourself, mind your steps, relax. You're tall, like it. So just scan because you can see further." And it's weird coming to notice that. My relationship with my twin brothers, like, it's dope. Like, I'd never say that I have best friends. I always say I've got brothers. Like, I've got homies that I'm really, really close to, and then I've got brothers. You feel me? But if I were to say I have a best friend, I guess it would be him, right? Because we have lived one life, two versions for all our life. And it's going to be like that until we're dead and buried. You understand? So being able to investigate and assess and just look back and reflect on the life that we have lived together, and now a little bit more separate, because, as we're getting older, we start not pulling away from each other, but start living our lives more for ourselves. Obviously, if there's a big thing that's going on, or I have to make a big decision, the first person I have to consider is my brother. Like, for example, when he started working, I'm not going to say where he works, but when he started working, and he had to start looking at admin stuff and looking at, like, I don't know, this technical stuff, next of kin and blah, 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 and, and beneficiaries of whatever. I would like to think that I was the first person he considered for it, right? Because if the shoe was on the other foot and I had to make those kinds of administrative issues, I would then be looking at him as the first person that has to be, on the papers and whatever. Because, Lord forbid, something happens to me, I need to make sure that he's taken care of. We're twins, but we look out for each other as if, like, one's older than the other. And don't ask who's older than who, because he's going to say he's older, I'm going to say I'm older. And I have my reasons, and he has his reasons, and we're never going to agree. Ever, ever, ever. But, we cool. So you need to know. So when it comes to you challenging your tribe, it comes down to values. Looking at where you guys are the same and where you guys are different. And challenging each other on the things where you guys are aligned and it's the same vibe, it's the same feeling. Is it easy? No. But success is best when it's shared. Yes, as men we like to compete, and one wants to be higher than the other one, or wants to win before the other one. But if everybody wins, it's great, Like, obviously you're going to pursue things in your life and fail. There's no guarantee of a win. Nothing is ever guaranteed. You can feel like you're on top of the world and everything is going right for you. And then someone can say something to somebody about you, which then has a ripple effect and it affects you directly. And then everything that you had could be gone. But do you have someone to lean on? That brother that you challenged, that homie that you challenged to level himself up. Now that you guys have always been pushing each other and supporting each other, when you're down on your luck, that's your first point of contact. Do you see how all these things, whilst seemingly different, all the points that I've been stating so far, how they can be so different, but interlinked all at the same time? There's a reason for that. We like to think that if we break things down into separate blocks, that these are independent things that will never, ever, ever touch. but it's like having different kinds of food on a plate. You feel me? It's going to touch at some point. Things are going to bleed into each other. You just have to have innermost control, because this is all about controlling your environment. Yes? I'm glad you guys have been paying attention so far and taking notes. It's about to get real now. Now we're getting serious. So, point number 7, establish discipline. This is probably one of the hardest ones out of this list, because discipline, consistency, commitment, planning, execution, regular check-ins, accountability, it's hard to maintain. I mean, the gym is the easiest example, right? If you go maybe 4 or 5 times a week consistently for like 3-4 months, and then you have a week where you can only go twice, you can literally feel yourself inside. You can be like, nah, something here is not right. I'm not aligned. You know, I need to go get my checkup. I need to get the screws tightened because I need to lock in, and it seems like I'm not right now. It's a hard thing establishing discipline, because these days we have so much convenience. Everything that we could want is at the tip of our thumb. We just scroll through our phone and we can get pretty much anything. We don't have to leave to go somewhere to go and get something. We don't have to go out and earn it. We can just give ourselves rewards for simply existing. And you'll have some people say, man, spoil yourself, just, indulge a little bit. But if you know what your goal is, you have to be somewhat relentless in your pursuit of it. And you already know what kind of sacrifices you need to make. So when someone tries to offer that to you, or when that part of your brain starts saying, my man, you've been working so hard, you can gift yourself a little something. Don't give in to that, because that's where the trap is. And once you've trapped yourself and you make that mistake one time, you can slip up pretty much every single day after that. So there's like discipline in the gym with what you eat, how you train, who you train with, things like that. There's discipline with work, clocking in at around the same time every day. If you want to maybe work towards a promotion, maybe get into work a little bit earlier, take on a little bit more responsibility. Not too much that it feels like you're doing overtime, because most of the time you get extra work that feels like overtime. You're not going to get paid for it, but just taking more initiative, because people will notice. They will notice that you're more committed. They will notice that there's been a positive change in you. They'll try and wonder and figure out what it is, and they might ask you, so like, what's up with you? Like, things have been a little bit different. Like, I see you like grinding for real. Like, is there anything going on in your life that's changing? And you can just say, nah, man, I'm just elevating my masculine. And I'm locking in. I'm on the job, bro. Like, this is not a game for me. I have real goals in this life, and in this country, it's very difficult to pursue most goals. It's tough to get a job. It's tough to have a trending video if you're a startup content creator. It's tough to maintain your standard, whatever your standard is. People change. Politics has an influence. Almost everything in this country is sort of going a little bit downhill, so it becomes very hard for you to try and lift yourself up, but you try anyway, because that's the way of the higher man. That's what a man does. There's no way that a man can sit on his hands, watch the world change around him, and then he complain about the state of the world when he did nothing to improve it. If it feels like I'm calling you out or I'm being a little bit rude to you, that's the kick in the ass that you needed so that you can get up and do something. But I know most of you guys are doing things. Obviously, most of the people that are subscribed to this channel are people that I know personally, and I know your real life, so you can't lie to me. But I see that you guys are working. You guys are doing the things. Some of you I haven't spoken to in months, weeks, others years, but I know that you're doing the work, and I'm proud of you for doing that. Truly. Like, I know that the work that you do oftentimes isn't valued because it isn't seen by other people, because it's inner work, right? And you feel like the changes that you're making for your life aren't bringing you any benefits because people don't actually see it. It feels like no one is actually valuing you. But I'm here to tell you that I'm valuing you. Like, I see you, you're grinding, you're working. It feels like you're running in the same spot. And whilst you may be running faster, it might feel like you're not moving forward. But people can see it. And I can see it. And I'm grateful that you guys are taking or grabbing the bull by the horns and moving forward in the ways that you're meant to, as men, being relentless in pursuit of your goals. And I guess I didn't want to speak about this point, but it's become something very necessary with regards to establishing discipline. Sexual discipline, or as other people call it, dick discipline. You need to be strict. You need to have I don't know how strict you can be with yourself. I mean, I don't know if there's any stricter version than strict. But you have to ensure that you are extremely careful with who you get intimately involved with. If you're someone that doesn't get intimately involved, if you don't really have sex, if you're saving it for marriage or something like that, proud of you. This doesn't apply to you because you've already, got yourself checked. But if you're someone that does occasionally gallivant, let's put it that way. It's a nice way to put it. If you're someone that occasionally gallivants, one night stands are no longer allowed. Now you might think, bruh, how can you tell me what to do with my intimate life? That's my choice. And yes, it is. But the value of that thing between your legs is something that we've undervalued for too long. If you're getting into a relationship, don't seal the commitment with sex because it makes things a little bit blurry. We've seen how the dating scene is these days. Men and women are just picking the best of the worst, hoping that it can at least last 6 months or so. And then you're like, okay, even if it ends, we gave it a good shot. People aren't really investing long term anymore. But let me not, off ramp into relationships. I'm talking about, sexual discipline. Slaying the dragon by yourself, watching some spicy content, I'll put it that way. That has to stop as well. And this is not a judgment thing. This is a mental health thing. As someone that works in the mental health space and someone that is looking at, the new things that are holding us back, things like, that have a massive, massive negative effect on you. And it's one that you don't realize until it's too late. You'll ask some of your friends, like, how many times in a week do you slay the dragon, right? Do you roll the dice? I can't say the actual thing because I don't know if YouTube might strike this video. So I have to play fast and loose with the words. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to play it safe. But how many times do you do what it does? And if you hear someone say things like, a couple times a week. Some people say, a couple times a day or at least once a day. Ask them when was the last time they went 7 days without not just slaying the dragon, but without watching any videos or looking at any photos. Restricting yourself from that kind of indulgence. You don't want to be the kind of person that rewards himself with something as negative as that because you're killing yourself in a way that you don't see, right? You might see some commentators, right-wing commentators mostly, talking about protecting your seed. I mean, star athletes talk about it. If you've seen Mike Tyson, if you've seen Diego Maradona, artists like the artists of their sport, like those, like the top athletes, they restrain themselves. They withhold for weeks. I don't know if you guys watched the Chris Eubanks fight a couple of weeks ago, but even in the build up to that fight, which was a blockbuster fight. I mean, if you haven't watched it, please do. It's everywhere, but check on YouTube if you want to watch the whole thing or like snippets. But let me not off ramp. What he said was for 8 weeks, he doesn't do anything. No sex, no, nothing like that at all. Fully abstaining and then committing to whatever goal he set for himself. Maybe you might need to train like an extra hour every day. It gives you energy. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but if you've been doing it for a while and then you stop for a while, you sort of feel that things are a little bit different. Your voice might be a little bit deeper. You might feel a little bit stronger in the gym. You might be more focused at work. You're better able to study. Your eating habits improve. The other things that, you do to kill boredom, like doom scrolling and things like that, you do it a lot less. And explicit content obviously has that negative feedback loop in your brain. You're rewarding yourself with something bad, and because you enjoy the effect that it gives you once you've done it, it becomes something that you keep repeating, and then before you know it, you've developed an addiction that you don't even know how to stop. And the best way to stop is to stop cold turkey. This is not heroin where you have to take methadone and like slowly get yourself off it. You can kill this cold turkey. And you might feel some withdrawals. You might have that urge. You might have a thought in your brain, like an image pop up, and then you start feeling something tingling downstairs. But don't give in to that kind of temptation. If we're elevating the masculine here, we're putting ourselves as men in the best positions to be the best versions of ourselves, for ourselves, and those that we care about, right? How can we do that if we give in to the urges of pleasure every single time it comes? When the wave comes and you feel that urge and you feel that sensation and you feel like your skin's getting itchy and you need to scratch that itch. If you scratch that itch every single time you feel it coming, you're not the kind of man that's capable of leading because you can't show restraint. You're a little bit more impulsive. You're a little bit more emotional. You're not as introspective. You're not thinking about your next few steps because you're thinking about what I need to give to myself right now to gratify myself right now. Do you guys see why this kind of a thing would be a problem? So when it comes to establishing discipline, you need to be militant in all aspects of your life. When it comes to work, school, your relationships, be them friendly, familial, or romantic. When it comes to sexual discipline, understanding the need and necessity for it. I'm not saying you have to abstain until you get married, because not everyone follows that kind of rigid protocol. But you do need to be extremely selective of, who you pull down your pants for. You can't just do it for anybody. And also, these days, people might be carrying things and they don't show any signs. There are no bumps, there are no boils. I wouldn't know because I don't really play around like that. But some people might be carrying something and they'll be sneaky about it, and you think, nah, I can just curb the system. And it's like, no, chief. You'll play around with that one shorty one time. You went to a party, you saw, and you're like, yeah, nah, she's bad. You guys go home, A couple days later, you start itching in the wrong spot. That itch then becomes a burn. And then when you want to, take a leak or something like that, it feels like a waterfall coming out of a fire hydrant. Like, it just hurts. So please, you don't need to be catching a venereal disease. Be very careful with where you stick it. So it'll be best just to let it be where it's at and let it sit there. Sorry, sometimes I laugh at myself because I don't usually get to speak about things like this. And when I do, it's helpful that there aren't any other people in here because then, I'll get too sidetracked. But I really do want what's best for you guys, even though this might be a weird kind of thing to have to look at and assess. But you can, go find some resources. Um, Here's one that I know off the top of my head. It's called Fight the New Drug. You can find them on TikTok. You can find them on Twitter. You can find them on Instagram. They're a page that pretty much is advocating for stopping like pornography and stuff like that. It doesn't give you necessarily like steps on how to stop, but it does give you articles on like the effects of it. There are a lot of testimonials from people that were addicted, and they slowly, gradually, fought their battle and they won. The effect that it can have on your relationships, not just your romantic ones. I mean, especially your romantic ones, because the way that you view your partner, the things that you want your partner to do, you think that because you saw it on a screen, you can make it come to life. But you must remember that just like a Marvel movie, this is also a performance of fiction. You're not going to get your girlfriend to move like that. She might do something close or similar, but that's within the bounds of the relationship. This has nothing to do with an expectation that she's going to perform like that one actress that you guys watch more than any other actress. I don't know what you guys watch. I'm not judging. It's like, hey, dude, I used to be there. I used to have that issue myself. But I fought real hard and like I've been clean for I don't even know how many months. So it like it was even before I got into a relationship last year. I was already like 2 months like off it, and before that it was like 6 months. Like I had a relapse one moment, but this is not me just having full disclosure because I feel like the only way that you guys can relate to me is if I give you something to relate to. I had a slip up some point last year and then I stopped, and it's been like that ever since. I don't keep count of the days because if you keep count of the days, it's almost like a checklist of every day, and then you now focus on ensuring that you stay abstinent. But you don't need to do that. You can just live your life and do other things. Get new hobbies, train hard in the gym, read books, draw, write poems. I don't know, do whatever you want to do. This took a bit of a while. I didn't think I would take so long speaking about it. But now we're moving on to point number 8, which is holding yourself accountable. Now, based off of what we've been saying, at some point I was going to talk about how you can then best ensure that all of these things come together. And that's by ensuring that you hold yourself to the standard that you know you can maintain. Like, how, I don't know if you've ever had a girl tell you, don't introduce me to a standard you can't maintain, right? Now, apply that to yourself. Don't hold yourself to a standard that you can't maintain. Hold yourself accountable to the standard that you can control, which is why we spoke earlier with point number 4 about managing your expectations. Don't make a rule or don't set a standard for yourself that is so far separate from the person that you are that you end up failing so drastically that you just capitulate and explode, and everything that you've built up now comes crashing down. Hold yourself accountable to the standard. Maybe have an accountability partner, a best friend, a sibling. If you really trust your parents like that and you're close with your parents like that, maybe a parent. Because at least then you know that if you slip up, someone might call you out and be like, hey, chief, don't forget, you said I must hold you to your own standard, right? You need to do it for yourself. But if not, I'll step in and I'll do what needs to be done. So always put yourself in a position where you're never stepping too far out of your own bounds. In the last episode, I did a move where like I stretched my arms and I was like, this is your limit. And then if you try to stretch out of your limit, you start looking like you're stretching too far one way or too far another way. And I thought it was a dope analogy. So just don't reach beyond your bounds. And when you're in your bounds, make sure that you're holding yourself to the highest possible standard. So always hold yourself accountable. People in your life might run away from accountability, but not you. You might try to hold somebody accountable or get them to account for the things that they've done wrong, and they run away from it. They act like, nah, bruh, today I don't need it. Let me just do what I need to, what I want to do for today.
We don't do cheat days here. We're serious. We're pursuing the goal all day, every day, 24/7, 365. No excuses. I'm telling you, it'll change your life. So far, it's been changing mine. Number 9, solidify your faith. And not the faith in yourself. That's not what I mean. If you're a religious person, be you a Christian person, a Jewish person, a Muslim, an agnostic, do what you can to ensure that you're connected to the thing that you believe in, because that will be your greatest source of strength when you feel powerless. Like as I was saying earlier, in the beginning of the episode, I was brought down to my knees, and because I was already on my knees, I started praying again. I mean, I'd always been praying. I was praying for myself, for my relationship, and all those kinds of things. But when those things ended, for a while, I was so angry at the man upstairs for the situation being as bad as it was. The depression that I fell into, I had to really force myself to lean back into my faith, because if I didn't, I probably wouldn't be here recording today. I would have still been in that slump, not recording, not going out, not seeing people, not talking to anybody. I would have been rotting and fading away. But as a man, you have to always pick up the pieces, no matter how broken they are, rebuild them as best as you can, and keep moving forward. And that cannot happen if you don't lean into the faith system that has helped you so far in your life. I'm a Christian, so I pray to God. I pray every morning. I pray every night. I do my testimonials every morning, and then I read the Bible when I can. Usually, most days, since I bought it, most days I'm able to read about 10 pages or so a day. And I mean, that is a massive book. So I don't even think I've made like 15% progress yet, but it's coming along. And it's been helpful for me, obviously, as I've said earlier. If you've got a faith system, the best thing you can do is lean into it 100%. You will never, ever, ever regret it. I guarantee it. You won't get life-changing events happen in your life the following day after you prayed and it's like, oh no, Lord, please give me this, give me that, or show me a sign. And then you trick yourself. You be like, Lord, if I see a Lamborghini tomorrow, it means that things are going to be okay. And then you drive past a rich area and you see a Lamborghini, you're like, you see? Don't fool yourself. Don't deceive yourself. Know that the process is going to be long and it's going to be difficult. And for a long time, it's going to feel like the things that you're asking for or the things that you're pleading for help with aren't being attended to. But you must remember that your creator, the person that you believe in, put that discernment and that power within you. So in as much as you should pray because there's value in it, it doesn't mean that that's all you should do. Because faith without action is worthless. Am I right or am I right? But, jokes aside, put yourself in a position where you've surrendered yourself to the greater belief. Right? Now, there have been 9 points. It's been me rambling for quite some time, and I hope that there's been some value here. Elevating the masculine is not a simple thing, or as simple as people might make you believe. But if you follow these steps, it'll be a walk in the park. The challenge is obviously maintaining the standard and things like that. But if you have a code, stick to the code and you'll never fail. Which then leads me to the final point number 10, which is make your own point. I've rambled long enough. There's probably one thing that you feel I might have missed or not have mentioned. That can be the one thing that you add to your list. The one thing that you feel like ties it all together or adds a special twist to it. In as much as I can add my own 2 cents, your life is yours. I can't live it for you. So number 10 is an open space where you jot down whatever you believe you can write down for the elevation of your masculine energy. We're all trying to win. We might not all be doing it the same way, but we all have the same goal. to develop ourselves, to develop our minds, and to change our lives. Am I right or am I right? So let's just do all that we can to ensure that we make life the best that it can be for ourselves and for those that we love. Because a man that is on his mission, a man that is on his purpose, will never have a falling value. It will always be on the up and up. So, as the higher man sees, the higher man does. Go forward with your life. Make the best of it. And don't forget, you are the king of your castle. You are the captain of your ship. No one else can steer it for you. The light is there if you choose to open your eyes. And with that, I would like to thank you for your time. It took a while, but we got to the end. It wasn't a free-flowing, super nice, super funny conversation. I had some funny moments here and there, but I hope that you found some value with this. And I hope that you can share this with every single person that you can. I do want it to become something that a lot of people can relate to, but I'm not well known per se, and I'm not doing this for fame. Even if I can affect one person's view of themselves, I know that I've done my job. Because we're all brothers in this, and brothers stick together. See you guys soon. Real soon.